So welcome everyone this morning to our 12-week Book Yourself Solid series. Today we're going to be talking around our networking strategy. Before we get started, I'm going to ask our two guests, Anthony Kazazis, who generally co-hosts this event with me, but he's such a masterful networker that I asked him today if he would be open to actually being one of our guests. And we're also have Lucy Edwards, who's also a master networker. So we're going to take just a moment to allow them to introduce themselves and before we jump into the topic. So Lucy, would you please introduce yourself?
Good morning, everybody. Lucy Edwards, VHT Studios, Director of Client Success. I have been in the real estate industry for almost 20 years. My husband and I, we built our company from scratch, the old-fashioned way, knocking on doors and begging for business. What we decided to do is create marketing for realtors and A to Z approach. So photography, floor plans, print material, and way before drones, we had an elevated photography, which is like a between 50 and 75 feet tripod that is 100 pounds and 10 feet. So in radio, so we even offered that. And that piece of equipment really helped us build our business and be out of the box marketing company. We were always very innovative. We did floor plans and interactive floor plans way before anybody else in Northeast. And we used to cover New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and a little bit of Pennsylvania. And just recently, last September, we joined VHT because we were able to build such a strong empire in Northeast that quite a few companies, they were very interested in merging with us. So we are very happy that we did, especially with COVID. We probably would not have survived if we were on our own. And VHT probably would not have survived either. It was very tough times, but now we are stronger than ever nationwide. I love what I do. Basically, right now, my goal in life is to create marketing strategies for different properties, and every listing deserves a strategy, and that's what I am building, and that's how I work with realtors. So someone told me at VHT that I have the best job ever. I create my own directions and my own products, and just really, really, really cool. Just really love it. And I do a lot of videos. So if you go to vht.com/learn, I have a lot of videos on different products.
Thank you, Lucy. I love that every property deserves a strategy. And here at the New York City Network Group, we believe that every business deserves a strategy as well. And so just, kudos to everyone who continues to join and bring in strategies into your business and your organization that improves and helps take your business to the next level. So, and then again, my co-host, Anthony Kazazis, who has agreed to be in a guest chair today. Would you please introduce yourself?
Hey, good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us today on why you must actively, shamelessly promote your businesses and network strategy. I first started off working with my mother in the real estate business, and then, of course, my father was an attorney, so I helped my father do a lot of legal work. And then, actually, I was mainly a family guy. My brother was in the title insurance business, and then I also helped him as well with titles. And then I got involved with mortgages, and I did mortgages. But doing the legal, the real estate, the mortgages, the titles, I always went to networking events, like a trade show. And I always dreamed about having my own trade show. And that's basically what happened. I was working with my brother, and I said, John, you know what? Let's create some type of a trade show for a platform so we could have our brokers or attorneys or bankers or whatever come on board and be speakers. It was a great way to promote their businesses and get business in return as well. So that's how I created the NYC Real Estate Expo. Started very small, like a networking event, like a BNI. You know, I brought in 10 people the first week, then it went to 20, then it went to 40, then it went to 100, then it went to like 4,000. So basically, that's how I started, and that's where the expo is today. And I want to thank you for coming on board and hearing myself and Lucy speak. Thank you, guys.
Wonderful. And my name is Larendee Roos, and I'm hosting our event this morning. And I founded and now have a partner, and our company is Roos Advisors, and we help companies grow and scale in the areas of sales and marketing, operations, and then human resource recruitment, education, and retention. So we have 3 divisions in our company. We have a consulting company that we work with organizations who have 15 plus employees. And then we have a coaching division that works with agents clear up through brokers and executive coaching. And then our recruiting division specifically recruits for people in the legal industry and also in the engineering industry. So networking is something that we learned a long time ago was a requirement. And because it was a requirement, we needed to find a way to do it that we would be so in love with doing it, we would do it over and over and over again. And I have to say that networking literally, and the strategy specifically that we're going to teach you today, literally has grown our business and kept us not just surviving, but thriving over 17 years. So today, again, we're going to be talking about the networking strategy. And so there's basically 4 principles and tenets of this. And we're going to talk today about how we use the 50-50 networking rule and what that means. We're going to talk about how to share what you know with who you know and how you feel about that. And then we're going to talk about how you can share books and articles of interest to yourself and people in your network, and then how to use formal and informal networking events to enhance those connections. So looking at the first one, the 50-50 networking rule. So this rule is that we partner with people who might even be our competitors, and that we get to know them and we learn about what makes their business, sets their businesses apart. And then we also network with people that we already know, current clients, and again, continuing to sew into what their compelling needs and desires are and getting to know them better. And then we take those existing clients and ask for referrals, which is another topic we'll be talking about in another day, to develop and enhance those relationships as well. So networking really is sowing seeds and nurturing those seeds. And then eventually, we don't know when it will be, we do know that eventually the crop is harvested, using kind of the agricultural platform and metaphor. So the first thing we do is we look at who we currently know and currently maybe even competitors, and we get to know them. So this is why industry associations can be so powerful and important. So networking, again, is a strategy which eventually helps us get clients, but more importantly, it keeps us on our toes, keeps us knowing what's going on in our industry, lets us know who we need to know. So then the second thing is once we know those people, whether they're current clients, their prospects, their competitors, we begin to get to know them and make deeper connections. And then with that, then we can share other referrals to them. We can listen to what their compelling needs and desires, who they need to know, and we can make introductions. So if you look down here at this section, we're sharing who we know, what we know, and how that helps us to feel. So then the next thing that we do is we might send a book, or we might send an article, we might send a card. You know, that handwritten note is such a rarity in today's day and age, where so many of us rely on email, LinkedIn. But I have to say that a great example of this is actually my husband, who's a music composer, and he writes music for film and television. And then he also does some production. So if you talk about someone who has a very narrow niche in a very competitive, narrow industry, this one strategy alone has helped him build a business that supports our family and gives us the opportunity to appreciate and enjoy a lifestyle that many people only dream of. And he used this one strategy by making sure that every time he made a connection, he sends a handwritten note. He gets to know people at networking events, and then whatever book he's reading for, during that 6 months, he'll send a copy of that book with a handwritten note to that individual. And what it does is it keeps him top of mind awareness to people, makes him memorable. And so he's a great example of when people ask me, does it really work? And does it really work in my industry? I say, actually, the more narrow your niche is and the more relevant you want to be, you really could use this strategy, and it would be enough if you did nothing else to grow your business. And then, of course, we use formal and informal networking events to enhance our connections. So rather than going, to a cocktail party and handing out as many business cards as you can, what we say is you need to collect as many business cards as you can, making notes on those business cards, or if you go to a BNI meeting or you virtually, making notes about everyone who speaks. Make a little note about something that stood out, and then follow up with that person in an email, noting what you remembered about them, so that it inks your connection a little deeper, a little more deeply, and it also helps them to show that you actually cared because you were actually listening and paying attention. The other thing that is that, sharing how we feel about things, letting people know what's important to us, not in a self-facing way, but in a way that lets people know what we stand for and what's important to us. Going back to our filtration system, lets people know that we might be of a similar mindset, so it will be easier for us to do business and to make referrals to one another. I always say that you really only need to have about 15 to 20 people in your current vortex that you're working with at any given time, and that would really help you. And having nurturing and being consistently connected to those 15 to 20 people would exponentially change your business in the next coming 6 months. Well, very often, many of us get into the mindset that I need to have as many people in my vortex as possible because we come from a scarcity mindset, rather than focusing on really forming deep connections and really getting to know those people. So where would we find those 15 to 20 people? So we would find those people, first of all, people who you already know, who support you. So people who continue to show up on this phone call, or people that it's easy because they're showing up, so we can show up for them as well. Then you might have 5 or 7 people that you do meet at a more formal networking, either on a Zoom, like a BNI meeting or a chamber meeting or a Rotary meeting that you might find. And then give yourself the opportunity to ask people for referrals, not for business, but who do you think I should know? Who do you think, knowing what you know about me, Lucy, who's someone that you think I would have a good connection with? Again, focusing on the connection rather than who can I do business with. So, in summary, we use the 50-50 networking rule. Again, looking at competitors, people in my association, in my industry, and then also current clients who can make introductions for me. And then we share who we know, what we know, and how we feel about it. And then we take it up a notch by sending books or articles of interest to those people. And imagine if you did that, with 20 people once a month, or even, once a quarter. Over time, that relationship would strengthen. And then use those formal and informal networking strategies to enhance the connection factor. So now we're going to take a moment. We're going to go back to our panelists, Anthony and Lucy. Again, thank you so much for agreeing to be with me this morning. And we're just going to open the time up, and we're going to start asking some questions. So Lucy, I'm going to start with you. What percent of your business would you say can you directly attribute to using networking as a promotion strategy?
Say at least 70%. I strongly believe in conferences, and until March, and actually my last conference was on March, one was March 1st and then back to back March 6th with Berkshire Hathaway in Nashville. But I strongly believe in networking, in conferences and meeting people. I totally understand the environment where everyone wants to just send emails and be on social media, but I believe in being in front of people and being with people. So yes, networking, I would say 70%.
Wonderful. And Robert, you asked if there's slides being presented. I do have one slide that we showed. So if you want to pop your email into the chat, I'll be happy to send you actually a whole deck that accompanies this series. There are worksheets that you can work through that might help you. Thank you, Lucy. Yes, so 70% of your business is a direct result of you attending conferences, associations, and that one-on-one connection. Anthony, how about you? How much of your business would you directly attribute to networking?
My business was almost 100%, because what I would do is make sure that I would always be at all the other trade shows. And of course, my sales tactic was extremely easy. I was saying, you know, listen, if you love this trade show, you're going to love mine. And it was that easy. I mean, it was so easy for me to go to like Triple Play or the NBA, Buildings New York, or Build New York, or Inman News. So a lot of those events, it was just so easy for me to go to the exhibitor. I would make it a point, travel, pack my bags, go to the hotel, stay at the events, and I would also set up a booth. And exhibit. So, but pretty much 100%, because I believe in that handshake. I believe in that face-to-face combat and talking, and that's how I got my business. It's kind of different now.
So in that regard, you looked at other people who might have been considered a competitor and actually found yourself in those spaces of other expos, other events. So again, it speaks to the point that we're always trying to figure out, where are the people who I might be able to serve? Where are they going? And they're going to those association trade shows, and they're going to those events. So if you want to make it easy on yourself, go where they are, right? Find the places where they go and find yourself there. And then over time, build meaningful connections. So thank you. And then how do you network in this current environment? So Anthony, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Lucy. So we're all on Zoom now. Most of us are participating telephonically or through video conference. So how do you network in today's environment?
I'm still a very old-fashioned fella. I still believe in picking up the phone. I believe in relating a message on the voicemail. Now, this is, of course, clients that do know me, but also I'm very aggressive to go after brand new clients too and relate the message to the assistant. So I still believe in that old-fashioned voicemail or that call to the client. Again, we're pretty much all reinventing the wheel, especially my business, which is an expo that's been around for 12 years. And I do have lots of ideas about what I'm doing. Of course, webinars, which everybody's doing with Zoom. I'm also creating, and you guys should do this too, is create an amazing think tank. Put together all your interesting guys that, like you said, that are compatible to you, and come together on a weekly basis and come up with ideas on how to improve your business. And you never know what's going to come out of it. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff that does come out with it, especially it's like your own BNI. And that's another thing that we are actually going to be doing very soon, probably within a couple months. You're going to see a very large BNI from us, from the NYC Network Group, that you're going to love to join. And again, we will have an advisory board. We'll come up with some great ideas, great speakers, great opportunities. And it's just something that you have to readjust, reinvent the wheel, and get out there and start thinking about how are we going to do this? Are we ever going to go back to a live trade show again? I don't know. You know, a lot of we're supposed to be, our show in November 2nd was canceled, and we're supposed to have our live show now June 23rd. But when I called up the hotel and they said, how will my contract read? It's just something that I'm not even interested in. You got to call the exhibitor before you actually enter into the building. A room that fits 450 people could now only be 164 people. It's just, everything has really changed. And so we're hoping that 2022 will be the year that we'll be able to get back into the live show. 2021 right now is not going to be a live show for us either. So I canceled the 23rd date as well. So, but again, guys, webinars, calls, emails, think tanks, you know, I'll be happy to help any of you guys if you ever have any thoughts, and I'll share what we're doing. But it's working for us. A lot of the people that do want to get the message out, they want to do the webinars. And so we're getting into these webinars.
And Lucy, you shared with me a great example of how you're doing this through LinkedIn. So would you share the example of how you're networking, and then also any other techniques and tactics that you're using in this current environment?
Absolutely. So I believe in social media, and I can see right now on LinkedIn, I have more than 7,000 friends. So it's really good networking for me as well. As a matter of fact, one of our guests today, Joanna, I met Joanna on LinkedIn, and we start writing to each other what you are doing and what how we can work together. I usually, when I invite someone to be my friend, I put a little note together who I am and why I want to be friends with that particular person. I explain something about myself besides the fact just like be my friend. And with Joanna, we start talking to each other, and then we realized we have so much in common, and we can actually help each other build our business even stronger. I can introduce Joanna to my clients on Long Island, though she lives in Connecticut, but now everything is, and then before it was also very virtual as well. Joanna can help me with my business and introduce me to her clients, and we can benefit each other. I also believe that webinars right now, maybe in a way, you know, like in Russia, I'm from Russia, right? So in Russia, we have a saying, when I translate it, it's not as cute as it is in Russian, but the meaning is, out of every negative situation, you can get something positive. Something positive will come up. And what's coming up now, I am actually able to meet more people via Zoom. So I have my own Zoom account. VHT obviously provides some support with their Zoom, but I just have my own small, up to, I think, 100 people Zoom account. And that's how I meet people. Even with Joanna, after we start talking on LinkedIn, I created a meeting, and then it's face-to-face. It's still face-to-face. And especially I have an accent, and sometimes it's difficult to understand me. So when I am in person, and I consider myself being in person now, it's also very helpful. Actually, we are the very first, and as I know on Northeast, the only company, marketing company, that is reaching out to our clients, real estate agents, and we create Zoom meetings where we educate them how you should do the presentation to your buyers, to your sellers, using certain marketing tools. And like I believe in marketing strategy for every property, that is part of the strategy. You have to have virtual, you have to have walkthrough videos, you have to have interactive floor plans so agents can see, so the agent can introduce to the buyer what they're looking for. And we educate them and teach agents how to use those products. And when you share screens and you do Zoom meetings, it's very simple, it's very easy. And what I got the positive out of it, I have sometimes 3, 4, 5 meetings a day, and some of them up to 90 people, where you share your knowledge and where you introduce new new tools for your toolbox, and it's a great way to do the networking. So I was the first one who started those Zoom meetings, and now our company is doing it in every region, and everyone loves it. And it's not just help you in your revenue, it also helps you build relationship. When you are in a Zoom meeting talking to someone, you are building that relationship. Yes, I'm a person who likes to hug and shake hands. I'm right there, but listen, it is what it is. In today's environment, we can't do that, so we can have a virtual hug, but it does help to be in front of people and remind, and I would like to remind everyone that Zoom is a great invention.
It really is. It's almost as good as being there. So one of the things, a couple things that Anthony, you and Lucy pointed out that I think is so mission critical is that it is about building relationships. So all of us should have on our calendar that I'm going to spend how much ever time you want to dedicate to it, 30 minutes, an hour, 90 minutes a week. And part of my job as running this business or running my desk, if you're an agent, is going to be to investing in building relationships. And we do that through making connections and then deepening those relationships and attempting to get to know if we can add value to one another's lives. So I know at Roos Advisors, we often say that the most important thing we do is make connections, and we may connect for 5 minutes, 50 minutes, 5 weeks, or 5 years. And none of us, when we take that initial conversation, know what that's going to be, but we're still doing what we know is our job, and that's investing in our network. And so Lucy, you even talked about then what do we do after that? And in a future upcoming, this 12-week series, we have a direct outreach strategy and what do we directly outreach with? And so thank you for helping us do a little trailer for what's to come in this series. So
may I just add something? On Wednesday, we are invited. So I'm on the board of our commercial division with commercial real estate. And on Wednesday, we have a commercial real estate development association here in New Jersey who invited us to a virtual gala. So we're going to a virtual gala, and we actually have to dress up at least from waist up. And everyone, and man has to wear a tie, and it's going to be a virtual gala. That's the first one for me, the virtual gala, but I'm really looking forward to it. So I will share my experience with you on Thursday.
Yes, we're looking forward to that. And listen, if you have questions, please put those into chat. We'll try to respond to those timely for you. So David Letta actually had a question that Robert said, great question, David. And he asked, how do you start to network with individuals who don't know you? So maybe think about that. You know there's someone that you want to get to know. How do you network with them if you don't know who they are? So how do you get to network with people you don't know? What would you say, Lucy? What do you do?
So like with Joanna again is a great example. Here is LinkedIn, and we just start writing to each other. If I'm very much interested in being friends with that person and getting to know that person, I will write more than once and will invite to have a conversation and then set up a Zoom meeting. And then once you have the Zoom meeting, it's just like sitting in a conference room, drinking a cup of coffee. You feel comfortable, you are looking at each other, you see each other's face, expression, everything. I think it is very important. So social media is, I guess it's number one. Number two, if you have someone's email address, you can do the same thing by email. If you were referred to somebody and you received that email address or the phone number, then obviously you will explain who referred you and try to explain why you would like to connect. And if it is a valuable relationship, I'm sure you will be able to build it. I know, for example, David, I introduced, well, at least I was trying to introduce you to my daughter, and we met here. So I haven't met you before, but at one of the conferences we met, and now, you know, you should follow up with me. but I did send everything to my daughter about you. But that is also the way you go to conferences, you network, you meet, and actually at every conference there is a networking event. Like right now, again, for our commercial division, we are looking into quite a few conferences. All of them are virtual. Every single one of them is a virtual conference. And every single one of them has a networking event at the end where it is Zoom, you can see each other, you can talk to each other, and it's a great way to participate. So please sign up to any events you are interested in and meet people. I think it's a great way.
And you talked about LinkedIn, and it really is such a powerful tool. It's never been easier to get information about people and what they care about. So Brian Phillips talked about, you introduce yourself and make it about the person you are introducing yourself to. So through this powerful tool called LinkedIn, I can look up anyone that I might want to be in connection with and learn something about them and see if I have a connection point. So it's in a very authentic way that if I'm on LinkedIn and identify that this person also is investing their time and energy in nonprofits, that's also something that I care about and something that where I am in my business, I invest a significant amount of time in. That's a connection point. It's a data point that we can share and say, I'm the president of a nonprofit. We have an event coming up. I noticed that you're also involved in a nonprofit organization, or there's something to invest in. Tell me more about your nonprofit. Tell me how I can support you. And so it's all about, again, making human to human connections. And with LinkedIn, it's never been easier, because if people are on LinkedIn, usually they're there because they want to make connections. And if they don't follow up, Lucy, you talked about, you need to follow up. If they don't follow up with you, and I would say that probably 80% of people on LinkedIn are on LinkedIn because someone told them they should be, but you only need a small percentage of people who are invested, who think about it the same way you do, and then you start to build a relationship. And we often talk about that you don't go right for the sale, right? This is building a relationship. So get to know that person, allow them to get to know you. And then from there, it might take 5 minutes, it might take 5 years, but over time, you're deepening connections. Brian talks about using premium accounts. We pay for LinkedIn Premium. We use the Sales Navigator tool. Why? Because it helps build my filtration system for me. So every Monday morning, I get into my inbox an additional 150 people that I can reach out to. And if I reach out to 150 people, probably 15 of them might be interested in making the deeper connection that I'm also interested in. So Anthony, what would you say? How are
yeah
about that?
Yeah, my thinking is, Dave, how many accounts do you have on LinkedIn?
Over the 500, I would say about 750.
Well, the most important thing is get that question, that very powerful question, your sales proposal, send it to all of them, send it to all 500 of those people, because I got about 18, going on 19,000 people on my LinkedIn account, and they're sending me messages every day.
And
That's the problem.
7,000 is a lot. You have 19. Wow, Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, it is, but it's just a lot. And so these guys are aggressively throwing me questions all the time. And I would have to say about within the last 2 months, 100 people, I have no idea who they are. The only reason why I accept it all the time is because I'm gearing up for that networking event that I was talking to you about globally. So we're trying to do something very large that's gonna roll out in a month or so. But most important, deliver that message that you want to get out to those 500 people. Watch who responds to it, and then you're going to start up a rapport with them right away. That's like the fastest results. That's the fastest way to meet someone that you don't even know. So LinkedIn is great. It's a great tool. It's unbelievable. We're going to try to copy it, but also make it more intimate. So we got some great things coming out that will be similar to LinkedIn. And then the old fashioned way, I'm not sure what's in your contact list. What's in your data? Do you have a whole bunch of names in your data, your
Yeah.
contacts? Roughly how much?
Oh,
Roughly?
geez, that's yeah, about 1,200, I would say.
Okay, 1,200. Well, again, get out the message, make a little, maybe Lucy could help you with a banner, get the message out about what you really want to talk about and blast it out to your contacts and boom, voila, you'll have 12 people that want to do a Zoom or a Google Meeting account. And that's how it'll happen so fast. That's how it happens quickly. That's how I did my networking event in Queens at Scobie's Diner, and I put out a blast, and people would come, and they would pay for breakfast, and they come, and then the next week would be double, and then the following week it'd be triple because everybody would invite a friend, and it just grew and grew and grew. I mean, the people in Queens are crying that I never continued doing it, but it got so large that we had to get rid of. We had the Queens Real Estate Expo. Then we closed it down and opened up the NYC Real Estate Expo so we could have it in New York City so everybody could come to New York City. So that's basically it. LinkedIn is awesome. And then go after your data, put out a message, put a beautiful banner together, blast it out, and watch how many people will say, David, I'm interested in learning. And then you do your Zoom. Then you do your Zoom or Google Meet. That's how easy it is.
Larendee, can I ask a question? I just want to ask a question to follow up. Is that all right? Because
Sure.
I'm kind of
Sure.
in your field as not field, but in your team that says, listen, you have to offer value. Anthony, I don't know if I feel comfortable hitting everybody. And the reason that I don't have more is because I'm very particular who I bring into LinkedIn. Because as you know, you get a lot of unsolicited things. And I certainly want to be able to help people, but I'm also, I'm a marketing manager. So my idea is, I have to make money and so does other people. So there's certain people, it's just not a fit, as far as LinkedIn. So would you address that too? Both those?
Sure.
Yeah, listen, your biggest, listen, you're going to get some people to, especially on your contacts, to opt out because they don't want to see, a lot of my people don't want to see this flyer. They're not interested. Unfortunately, I didn't break it up. My thing is like my database is spaghetti and meatballs. It's everything. So every message is going out to everybody. You should definitely have an archive. You should have a different page for bankers and attorneys and brokers. You should definitely try to get organized because when we blast out, it goes everywhere. LinkedIn, it doesn't matter because everybody is. See, the great thing about LinkedIn that I love is that everybody came after me and I just said, accept, accept, accept. And I got everybody worldwide. So I'm getting ready for the global virtual expo that we're about to do in March. Right. So pretty soon, and there's a whole bunch of people on my team that are going to put these panels together. But the thing is that right now for what you're looking to do on your contact data, which is 1,200, don't be shy about it. Just put out the message and say, this is what we're doing on Thursday at 8:00 p.m., whatever. We're going to talk about this product. If you're interested, just respond and I'll send out the Zoom invite or the Google Meet invite, whatever. And that's how easy it is. And then it just grows, Dave. Then you just ask them, hey, invite a guest or invite someone next week and just let that thing keep on rolling on and on and on. That's how my networking event rolled on. I went to a BNI. I wasn't impressed. I mean, listen, BNI is good for people, but I was not impressed. And I created my own BNI, and that's what happened, the expo. Okay, so it went from 20 to 40 to 80 to 100, and then boom, the expo. That's what happened out of the BNI. So you could definitely do anything you want to do, but you just got to get it going. You really got to work at it and get it going. And it's not that hard. You got 1,200 contacts and you got 500 LinkedIn guys. Start off with that. Just start off with that. LinkedIn guys, doesn't matter. Just put out the post.
We talk about in the Book Yourself Solid system that you should have, and Matthew talked about that in our session number 1. So if you weren't there, go on to our Roos Advisors YouTube channel and you'll find it. And one of the things he talked about is always have something free to invite people to get to know you, and do it in a way so that you don't have to do, if you have 1,200 people in your list, I would just say, okay, over the next year, I'm going to connect with all of them, which means 100 people a month. Well, how can I connect with 100 people a month? The way I can connect with 100 people a month is I can invite people to a Zoom meeting where the topic is of my choosing, right? And so if I invite 100 people, guess how many people are going to show up? Probably 10. So you don't even worry, because it's going to flow the way it's going to flow. And so through that, always have something to invite people to. This environment made it super, super simple for us, because what got discounted, which was so necessary, was that you don't have to be in the same room in order to really get to know people. So in truth, it's never been easier, because the pandemic proved to us that we can have meaningful connections and we can network in a meaningful way. So, and we don't always know what's going to hit, what's going to land. This month, it might be book yourself solid. Next month, it might be, hiring and recruiting. The next month, it might be something else, because we don't know what is going to be the light that goes on in someone's head that says, yes, I want to connect with that person that way. One thing we do know, though, is it never feels good to make a LinkedIn connection one time and immediately go into a sales proposition. That never feels good. What does feel good is knowing who I am, what I stand for, and then doing enough research to know if I'm going to make a one-to-one connection, give yourself another 5 minutes to know what that other person cares about. But to Anthony's point, if you have 1,200 people in your circle of influence or in some way, just reach out to them with what you care about, knowing that some people will, some people won't, and so what? Right? So we don't need to gather everyone, but the only way we can know whether we're meant to work with them and they're meant to work with us is by asking questions that slowly over time helps us eliminate that not now or never, right? But we don't know that if we're not putting ourselves out there on the corner. So we have about 5 minutes left. And so this has been very helpful. Thank you everyone who contributed to our questions too. It made it so much easier for Anthony and Lucy and myself to be responsive, to what you need. So
just wanted to add very, very quickly. For example, since I'm on commercial division committee, I also did the research. So one of my tasks was to find more conferences, and that's how I came across Commercial Real Estate Development Association. I reached out. We had a half-an-hour conversation with a beautiful lady, Donna, who was in charge of that gala, and I got invited together with head of the commercial division to that gala tomorrow, and she even waived $500 fee to be there. Because you start building relationship, you make you understand the business. And Donna was able to understand what I really needed. And I looked at the list of who was invited. It was 400 plus people, companies, and I researched some of the companies. It's definitely something that we are very much interested in building our commercial division. And again, just a little research and a friendly conversation. And relationship is very important, just to understand the person, to listen to their needs and introduce yours. I think that is a great success. So sorry to interrupt.
No, I was going to go to you and ask for any final words of wisdom before we open it up to others. Elizabeth asked that she was taught to ask connections if they may know someone that can benefit from our services. And I think that's a very valid, powerful question. Once you've gotten to know that person and once you've built a relationship, it never feels good to meet someone and within 5 minutes say, well, maybe we can't help each other, but who do you know that can? It's not right. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good to the other person. So take some time. I also say, people say, well, that's going to take a long time. Well, time's going to pass anyway. And time is a relative thing anyway. That's for a whole nother webinar. So, but what we do know is that when you do the things that bring value to your life and enrich your life is also enriched. And it never feels good to be rejected. And one sure way to get rejected is to ask for the sell within 5 seconds of meeting someone. You want to feel rejected? Do that. You're guaranteed 9 times out of 10. And so, just build those relationships. And the only way you can build those relationships is through networking and getting out from behind your desk, getting out of your office, which now you don't even have to do, but you do have to show up in person on camera for a networking event like this, and those connections will be made. Lucy and I met through Anthony Kazazis. And we met Anthony Kazazis because one of my recruiters was working on a position, and she saw him on LinkedIn, and she picked up the phone and she called him. They had a conversation, and she said, you know, who you need to speak to is our CEO, Larendee. And now roll the clock forward. And you know what? Our company wrote the check. We invested because Anthony made an irresistible, valuable offer to us. And now we're doing this deal together. And so it's really a matter of how committed are we, right? Let's be honest. And how committed are we to deepen connections and to expand and build relationships? Anthony, final words of wisdom from you as we close out this morning. What would your final words of wisdom be, Anthony, for our panel today? And you're muted.
I'm muted.
Unmute yourself. Yes.
I feel bad because there's so many more questions here. Guys, just, yeah, you have to be so patient. Yeah, like regarding asking for business from someone. I believe like the Chinese, they'll wait 100 years to make their move. So I'm similar to that type of thinking. Very patient. The Christian belief of giver's gain. I give a lot. I give as much as you can. Earn the trust, earn the respect, offer those unbelievable packages and programs, and then you'll win favorism. Then they'll start to love you. But it's like, definitely, there's one question here: do you work with your competitors? And in my business, it's a networking event, of course. And yeah, I do. I wish I could work with all of them, but we trade. My friendly competitors, we trade shows. I go to their trade shows, they go to my trade shows. And it's awesome because there's so much value there. Some of their trade shows are like 3 or 4 or 5 days. Mine is just 1 day, but there's big value to come to New York. And when I go down to the Triple Play or the MBA or the ABC Construction or the Buildings New York, I don't have to pay them anything. So it's, yeah, that, and having a networking event is very easy to trade with your competitors. But yeah, I guess the biggest thing I would say on conclusion is be patient, be kind, and giver's gain. Offer your services, help them, and they'll fall in love with you, basically. That is about it.
Thank you, Anthony. Lucy, any final words from you?
Relationship is very important. As a matter of fact, one of my competitors, he told me when he was asked, what does Edberg have that you, because that the name of my company was Edberg, does have that you don't have? And he said, Lucy has relationships. She's able to build those relationships. My whole business in Northeast that I brought to several $1 million from zero, built on relationships only. And I think it is important to be there for your contacts, for your clients when they need you, and to be there for people who need you or who just enjoy talking to you, and just be there, and it will come back 500 times.
Absolutely, thank you. So any final questions from the audience? You have about 1 more minute to your final thing that you would like to ask. It's really true, Lucy and Anthony. I remember years ago when I was working with Extra Space Storage, and we were on the circuit to raise a lot of money. And I remember we met with 28 different investment firms to see if we could joint venture together to take our company to the next level. And it was the first time I had done something like that. And I was really so intrigued by the fact that we would have a 2-hour meeting scheduled, and literally 90 minutes of that 2-hour meeting was, who are you? Where did you come from? What was your experience? Where did you grow up? This getting to know one another. And 30 minutes of it would be around all the numbers, the statistics, what we had done, what the potential ROI was, what the potential IRRs were. Now, certainly there was in-depth underwriting that went into play, But from those 28 meetings, we received 8 offer letters that we then narrowed down and ended up building relationships with 3 of those. And at the end of the day, one of the decisions we made were if something goes completely sideways, and there will be some deals that will, because no one can be smart enough to bet 100 every single time. Who do I want to be sitting across the table from, working through the nuances? And it's the same thing when we're working in our businesses. If you're a broker and you're working, with a commercial buyer or a residential buyer, or you're working with a bank, everything's not going to flow seamlessly 100% of the time. Who do you have a relationship with that you're mutually invested and mutually interested in, so you can work through those nuances? That's really the meat of it, isn't it? If you haven't built those relationships, then it's just going to be, eventually you're going to get to a pain point, and it won't be a great pain point. So we really agree with that. So we don't have any more questions. So thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Anthony, for giving of your time this morning. We really appreciate it. Again, the New York City Network Group, Anthony Kazazis, you can check him out on the website. Lucy Edwards is with VHT. They do incredible video production work to help elevate your properties so that the potential customers you will serve will have a wonderful, unique experience through a virtual representation, and helping you market your properties so that you can get top dollar from top buyers. So such an important offering in the real estate industry. And of course, Roos Advisors, we're here to help you scale and grow your business in incredible ways. So have an amazing week, and we'll catch you next week, same time, same place. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Larendee.
Thank
you,
you.
Lucy.
Thank you, Larendee. Thank you, Anthony.